Thank you, and welcome in to the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, an outstanding defensive back at East Carolina, completing his career with that illustrious team in 1999. And now Kevin, proud father of Marcus Monroe, who's committed to Stanford, tight end at North Raleigh Christian, and another burgeoning prospect in the family, Butter Monroe, at Green level, and he's a freshman and playing varsity. Had a punt return for his touchdown in his first high school game. And Thursday night, Kevin, the Pirates at NC State, and a slow start for ECU, down 17-0, did not have a first down on their first three possessions, and yet the Pirates managed to battle back within a touchdown, and ultimately had a 4th and 1 at the NC State 9 in the final minute that was stopped on a pass to the left, and the state defenders aggressively rode the tight end out of bounds there to seal the outcome. But, you know, things to like out of that season opener. Quite a challenge playing NC State, coming off a bowl victory over the Wolfpack in front of a very raucous, supportive crowd in Raleigh. And East Carolina, although they were down, they managed to battle back and showed a lot in terms, I think, of team character in doing so.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Al. I think it was very exciting to see the way the Pirates fought in that game. You and I talked about, no moral victories. And, God, it's tough to lose to NC State no matter where you play them. So you just hate that for the Pirate fan base. But I think the Pirates come out of this feeling a lot better about their season. They're feeling good about Caden Hauser and things he was able to do, specifically in the second half. They saw some guys step up throughout the game. London Montgomery ended up being the guy with the most carries, ran the ball hard, averaged 4 yards a carry, even though the numbers in the rushing game didn't really show out to be that impressive. Javante Connor was the guy that I don't think most Pirate fans had even heard of. He gets the big, long 79-yard touchdown catch, stepping up. Brock Spalding, a guy who's been kind of in a little bit of trouble, during the preseason with some off-the-field stuff. He steps up and has about 100 yards receiving on 6 catches. So guys stepping up offensively and getting it done in a way that was impressive, specifically in that second half. And then defensively, a quarterback like C.J. Bailey, how tough he is, the things that he can do on the field, and you hold him scoreless, hold the team scoreless in the fourth quarter, last 18 minutes of the game, I think he said. So just, they played tough. They got off the field and they need to get off the field. They gave themselves an opportunity to tie or win the game late. So I think a lot of good things to look forward to. Certainly you can't start as slow as you did. You can't, go your first 3 possessions without even getting a first down. I think Coach John David Baker maybe abandoned the run a little bit early and went straight to the passing game. Although it was successful, you love to see the Pirates rush for more yards than they rushed for ultimately. So definitely some things to work on, some things to build on. But as you said, I love the fight in the Pirates.
They did battle. And, the 4th and 1, had some questions. I think a lot of Pirate fans had some questions about the call. And I thought they had actually picked up the first down on 3rd down with Parker Jenkins off the left side there. But they ran an RPO where actually an option, Caden Hauser pitching to Marlon Gunn that went for a touchdown. Leander Green never timed it up any better as far as running that option in the Pat Dye days, and got into the end zone there. Big score, big field goal, I thought, to get it to a 1-possession game. After State had missed a field goal, the Pirates transfer kicker came in and nailed it from an angle at a pretty good distance, and that was big. And so some different plays. Connor with the big scoring run, he just absolutely ran through one State defender and bounced him to the ground. And he was pretty intent on his destination as he went downfield. And a great call or reaction by Hauser because State was going to get a penalty, and it was a free play, and he recognized that.
Yep.
And it worked out very well for the Pirates and dented that early 17-0 deficit.
Yeah, the third down play, as you mentioned, looked like it should have been a first down. It was not. And I'm never a big fan of going right back up the middle the very next play on fourth down, specifically on fourth down, because you have to give yourself an opportunity to get that yard. And so I would have loved to see either Hauser put the ball in the gut of the running back and pull it out and go around the edge, or, as you said, some sort of option situation where you look like you might go up the middle, but then you pitch it out wide. But you got to give your offense a chance to make that play. And I felt like just going, the pass I like, but the way it was run, I don't think Riles got enough downfield. You got to get past the sticks on a play like that. So I think it was just really confusing the fourth down call. If you're gonna throw the ball, you got to get something open quick, more than likely over the middle where it's a nice easy pitch and catch. But they try to go wide, and State's defense is fast and aggressive, and they were able to get them on the ground. The field goal by Mozzie, new kicker, that was good to see. We've had some ups and downs in the kicking game over the last couple of years, and so good to see him get off to a good start. But that was a big one there late in the game to get the Pirates within 7. And they had a chance. As you said, got the ball down to the 9-yard line, had plenty of time. Honestly, they were kind of trying to work the clock down so that State did get an opportunity to come back, and just didn't work out. But happy to see some of these guys step up and fight in the fourth quarter.
We had some questions about who would be punting at the outset of the season, and one play that really stood out, separate unto itself, was a fourth down deep in ECU territory, and the punter threw for a first down. And that was just an amazing case of guts, I think, on East Carolina's part, because they're down at that point and risked, giving State super field position. And they picked up the first down. They weren't able to sustain the drive, but just remarkable gambling effort there by ECU.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool play, specifically because East Carolina was having some struggles offensively and really couldn't get things going, and had some 3 outs before then, and so it was one of those confidence builders. A little bit of momentum gathered by the offense to go back out there and have another shot at it. As you mentioned, it didn't end up leading in a scoring drive, but at least it showed them, hey, some of the stuff that we've been working on in the preseason is working. This is a cool play that gets people excited, and so it was a gutsy call. That worked out, and it caught State off guard. So you love a call like that. That was the gambler that Steve Logan used to be back when the Pirates were giant killers back in the day. And you get to see some of those onside kicks, some of those fake punts and field goals. That kind of brought back some of the old days there.
State will come to Greenville in 2028. That'll be the next scheduled meeting. Of course, there's always the possibility, I guess, of a bowl matchup. We've seen it happen before. But be that as it may, it's a great series. They used to play more often than they do now, and I would like to see that develop. I have to say something about Dave Doran, and I feel like he kind of talked out of both sides of his mouth, calling for sportsmanship, and to make some comments like he did before that game, I really thought were improper, over the line, and unnecessary. I mean, you don't need to fire up your team any more than is brought out in the course of this rivalry. And I wasn't aware that the conference or the university censored him at all. I know if Blake Harrell had made the comments that he had made, there would have been some repercussions. But just feel like that needs to be said. And we'll put the State game aside and focus on the Campbell Camels that are coming in Saturday night, East Carolina's first home game. And Campbell, of course, is a football championship subdivision program. They have 63 scholarships. And this is a huge game for them. It's kind of like when ECU used to go to state and play in Raleigh. Just a big opportunity for Campbell coming off a 31-20 loss at Rhode Island. They were up 17-7 in that game, but that is against the Rams, or the number 9 team, or was last week in the football championship subdivision. And so Campbell has Camden Sixkiller, transfer from McNeese at quarterback.
How about that name?
There used to be a player, Sonny Sixkiller, I think, at Washington State. And in just kind of scanning the roster and the biographical information, I didn't see any kin there, but I don't know. He's from Oklahoma, I think, originally. And they had their former quarterback, Chandler, I believe. They're spotting him around and using him in different means. And I think he had 8 touches, and the coach, Braxton Harris, said we've got to get more touches for him. So you can look for him to be more involved in the offense on Saturday night, probably in Greenville.
Yeah, I'm excited for this Campbell game. I think it'll be a nice bounce back opportunity for the Pirates. Campbell is a strong team, strong program. They've been kind of moving up the ranks in the FCS, and had an opportunity to play against Rhode Island, who is a tough program. And Rhode Island is coached by former East Carolina defensive back coach Jim Fleming, who was my defensive back coach here in the mid to late '90s. And so he's the coach there. And watching that game and the results of it, just kind of showed me that this Campbell team is not going to be a pushover, because, as you mentioned, Rhode Island is ranked very high in the ratings in FCS, and so for them to play hard and play tough with them throughout, I thought was impressive. Sixkiller, was right at about 50% passing. Probably not his best outing in terms of pass completions, but he played against a tough defense. They were able to run the ball some, but it was tough sledding, I think, both through the air and on the ground for them the majority of the games. This Rhode Island team was tough, but they, as you mentioned, they were in there into the fourth quarter before Rhode Island was able to pull away. But definitely a good opponent, a good home opener, and an opportunity to see, with Caden Hauser, how he can do maybe against a defense that won't be as big, strong, and fast as NC State's, because he played pretty well in the second half against them. And you can see this running game for the Pirates that, ultimately only had 30 yards net rushing. Obviously, the sacks and things reduced that. I think they had 67 net or gross yards, and then the negatives came in. So see if that running game can get going and have a big day on the ground. I think they can do that against this Campbell defense.
You mentioned that. I would have liked to have seen ECU go a little bit more vertical in the passing game and try to stretch that defense a little bit, maybe find Anthony Smith downfield a little bit and see what that might do for the running game for the Pirates. But, Kevin, they've had it's going to be a 9-day break in between games, and certainly that has some value after a physical game in Raleigh as far as getting people healed up from bumps and whatnot, but and some extra time to prepare, and maybe just that extra time to get over a big emotional effort. You don't recover from those games quite as fast, but some extra time, and comment on the value there if you would.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, anytime you have the ability to, and even though it's early in the season, every game is tough. I remember telling my boys, every Saturday, every Sunday after a Saturday college football game, I was just beat up. I didn't want to do anything on that Sunday because it's just so tough to play in a college football game. I mean, you're hitting every play, big, strong, fast guys. You're just going to be sore. There's probably, especially early in the season, you had some cramping going on in your muscles. And so it just takes a while to heal up. And then if you did actually have any kind of injury, any kind of bruise or ankle twist or, something that was to one of your, ligaments or muscles or tendons or something that was a bit of a strain, that's going to take some time to heal up correctly. So to have a few extra days, I'm sure the Pirates have worked in some time this week to let guys kind of heal up and get used to that first game kind of situation. So, yeah, I think it's huge. I think it'll be an advantage for the Pirates. You'd like to have that going into, a conference game or something, but we'll take it going in against the Camels and see how we play. But definitely always good to have extra time.
And Campbell, of course, played last Friday, so they've had a little extra time as well, more than the normal Saturday to Saturday, or in East Carolina's case this year, Thursday to Thursday. But be that as it may, it is the first home game. And what do you remember, Kevin, about coming out for a season opener at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium?
Man, I mean, those games are always well attended. It's always good crowds. I know we've sold a ton of season tickets this year. Students will be excited to see their first football game of the season live, and that, have that boneyard can get pretty rockets down there. So yeah, I remember, obviously I had, technically 5 of them. I was only able to play in 4, couldn't play my redshirt year, but 5 home openers, and we always look forward to them. There's nothing like playing in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, having the crowd behind you, get that noise going, get that adrenaline pumping. It's fun to play on the road, but being at home and getting that feeling of the crowd kind of lifting you up and helping to give you energy is huge. And I don't expect anything different here on Saturday.
Coach Blake Harrell has talked a little bit about that relationship between the crowd and the team. The team plays well, the crowd gets fired up, the crowd gets fired up, and the team plays well. It's kind of like a chicken and the egg, that symbiotic relationship between those two entities there at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. Kevin, you had the Camels come in, I think, 3 years ago. Mike Minner was the coach at that time.
Yep.
Former All-Pro defensive back for the Carolina Panthers. Braxton Harris is in his second season, and so they've had a coaching transition. 3-7 last year, I believe. They did have a win at Western Carolina, which was nationally ranked among the FCS teams last year. That's kind of been the big feather in the cap thus far in the Braxton Harris era. But as we mentioned, and Coach Harrell has mentioned, there's some potential players at Campbell that kind of want to come in and get something on tape because they might want to be playing at an FBS school in the future.
Yeah, that's the new landscape that we're in, right? Like, these days, every player's kind of their dream is to play FBS football, and then if they're lucky enough to be good enough to play Power 4 football, in the bigger conferences, that's always the goal until you get these kids that come out of high school and they take what they can get scholarship wise, but then they're looking to move up, right? They're looking to advance, and it didn't used to be that way. And it's tough on fans to kind of see it happening in this regard. But it's hard to blame the kids, especially now in this day and age of revenue sharing and NIL. The higher up in the level you go, the more you get paid, right? So, players looking to make that jump. Every player on that Campbell team would love to be a starter on the East Carolina's team, right? And so that's where we are. That's the landscape. So, yeah, these guys are going to come in. They're going to play their behinds off with the hopes of getting good film, and also winning the game, right, and showing well for their school. But if there is any opportunity for them to bump up to the FBS level, this is the type of game that will show it, right? Because you can play well against all the FCS opponents, but you have to show that you can compete against teams in FBS if you want to play in FBS. So who knows?
Kevin, it froze up again. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Kevin, the Campbell guys that come to Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium on Saturday, they're FCS, of course, but they'll be looking to put something good on tape and enhance their chances of moving to the FBS in the future.
Yeah, Al, it's interesting, this new landscape of college football that we're in, because out of high school you kind of take whatever scholarship offer you can get, and for some that's Division III, Division II, FCS, then FBS, then you have Power 4. So there's lots of different levels. There's even NAIA and junior college, and so these guys at Campbell are playing on the FCS level, and a lot of them probably thought they could play at the FBS level coming out of high school and would like to get there one day. And so they want to come to Dowdy-Ficklen and play well and get that film on tape in the hopes that they could potentially go to the next level in the future. That's just kind of where we are in college football because of NIL, because of revenue share. There's money to be made at the college level if you're at the higher levels. And so I know they love Campbell and the university, but they probably, if they had the opportunity to come and start at East Carolina or somewhere like it, I'm sure they would embrace that.
And Kevin, of course, 63 scholarships for Campbell, 85 for East Carolina. East Carolina should have the edge in depth and talent.
Oh, there's no question. East Carolina, should be bigger and stronger, and in some instances faster at most every position. That's the name of the game in recruiting, right? Because you're going to go after the best guys, and those guys with the most talent want to come play FBS football. And so East Carolina didn't get some of those guys that they may have lost to the Power 4 schools, but the ones they got, they probably got players maybe that would have chosen East Carolina over Campbell. So in that regard, they should have the advantage. But you can't measure heart. You can't measure effort and scheme these coaches may put together. And so you can remember North Carolina A&T, beating the Pirates. You can remember James Madison, coached by Mike Houston, beating the Pirates. And so there's been some instances where FCS opponents have found a way to get the win. And
so East Carolina can't sleep on these guys, as the saying goes. But talk a little bit, Kevin, if you would, about that Bonesville tradition, Kevin's keys to the game.
Yeah, my first key last week against the Wolfpack was I thought the Pirates needed to get out fast, and guess what? They didn't. So we're going to go back to the well on that one and say, hey, you're playing at home, you're playing an opponent you should beat. You got to step on their throat early. You got to get a couple touchdowns on the board in the first quarter, and make it look unsurmountable. A lot like what NC State tried to do to the Pirates. So definitely got to get out fast. And you got to control the line of scrimmage, offensive, defensive line. I think Campbell wants to run the football. They have two running backs that both averaged over 4 yards a carry last week. And so they'll try to hand that ball off to those guys to get them going. East Carolina's got to be dominant up front, got to shut down that run game early. And then conversely, on the offensive side of the ball, the Pirates have to be able to run the football. The Pirates only had one person run the ball at 4 yards a carry or more, and only had 30 net yards rushing. And so they have to come out and establish a run game this week against Campbell. And then lastly, it's the turnover battle. The Pirates played a clean game this past week, no turnovers. Campbell played a pretty clean game as well. So the team that can hold on to the football and not turn it over, multiple times will have the advantage in this game.
Very good, as always, Kevin. And we'll see what we see on Saturday night as East Carolina hosts the Campbell Camels. And, of course, tune in to the Pirate Radio Network, and Kevin will keep you posted with his insights throughout the game. And we'll look forward to talking next week, Kevin, on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast.
Appreciate it, Al.